one of my bad things that happened over there, and I had a little. We assumed he was about 11 years old that was accidentally shot, and he died in my arms, and I that's about the worst thing that ever happened to me over there, and we kept calling in trying to get a helicopter to get him out, and they wouldn't send one, and they kept telling us to give him morphine, and the doc was busy with the old woman that was shot and the young lady that was shot. So uh, in my mind, I kept saying, Doc was running back and forth between the patients and between the Vietnamese people, and he was in his eyelids had done turned purple and his lips had done purple. The kid that I was holding in my lap, and I could. There were some Vietnamese Marines that were with us, but I couldn't get them to talk. I'd always remembered in our training that said to try to reassure somebody that was going into shock, and I couldn't get them to talk to him in his own language, and I couldn't think. And so I got a poncho. He was cold anyway from being in shock, I guess. So I covered him up with a poncho liner, and I was rocking him in my lap, and this is going to sound crazy too, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I was singing "Rockabye Baby in the Treetop" to him. That was the only thing I could think of to thinking maybe it might assure him a little bit, But anyway, that was one of my bad things I've dealt with since I came home, because I thought they'd get a chopper in and get him, but he was shot at with a 60 caliber round in his femur, and he didn't make it.
Now, so you mentioned an 11-year-old boy, a young woman, and an older woman that had all been shot. I believe. What happened?
We broke ambush early one morning, and some more boats were going back to base camp, and we was in a free fire zone, and it was for daylight, and we saw a light in the edge of the tall grass at the bank of the canal, and everybody was trying to lie them, tell them, dung la day, come here, stop and come here, and we couldn't see them good, and they jumped out of the sampan and started running, and took them under fire, and it was an old lady, an old mama son, and we assumed her daughter, who was grown and had a baby in her arms, and the little boy. And we found out later that they were trying to get to over there where there was a little market somewhere out there where they could buy some vegetables and stuff, and they were trying to get ahead of the other people, and they just started out too early that morning. They was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the older lady, she was shot one time. It blew one of her hips off of her buttocks, and shot one of her hands off. And the young girl that was running with the baby weren't running with her head bent over like she was carrying something. And of course, nobody knew it was a baby. And she got creased on the top of her head, but Doc got her patched up, and I'm hoping the old lady lived, but the little baby was the only one that didn't get scratched. And I remember the baby wasn't even able to talk or anything. And after the little boy died, we were spending all our time over there with a little baby, and somebody, we didn't know what to do with a baby like that. And somebody had a raisin, and they tried to give that. I don't even think the baby had any teeth, but we gave the little baby a raisin. And I remember the baby looked at us. I don't know if it was a boy or girl, I can't remember now, but the baby looked at us, and it was just like that Indian on that commercial about littering,
Yeah.
A big tear ran out of that baby's eye. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, I got up with Doc many years later. We took him to Florida, and he and I had a long talk about it, and Doc cried that day too. That's the only time I ever saw Corman cry. But it was very much, and it took me a long time to get down into where it all come from down in me,
Wow.
But that was I was thinking pretty bad back then. Some of that stuff, and
Yeah. So when you guys opened fires, you obviously assumed they were VC. It was a free fire zone. They were out earlier than they should have been. Um, how long was it before you realized that, we're probably not dealing with VC here,
not dealing with who.
not dealing with Viet Cong?
Oh, as soon as we got caught, got out, jumped out where they were at, we realized what it was. We knew right away what happened.
Wow.
But I don't remember if anybody had popped flares or what. I can't remember that. I just remember from the time they were being shot at, and so we had the corn. I was on Tango 48 then, and we had the corpsman on there with us, and he was a lot older than us. In fact, he was almost ready to retire, and he's a story in himself, man. He was a great guy.
Wow. So a lot of times, combat vets experience, really hard things, but they know that, the next day or even the next couple hours, there could be another mission, another ambush, something else, and so they don't really stop and think, or they just whatever they might be thinking or feeling, they just shove it down because, something else is coming around the corner, and
That's
you
true.
can't be paralyzed by thinking about this stuff. But it's maybe, later on is when you think about it. How about you? After this happened, was this something that you just worked really hard to put out of your mind because, you probably had a mission the next day?
Oh yeah, this was in November when this happened. It was November the 24th, 22nd, and 24th. I used to try to. It always came up every November. I'd always had it on my mind, and I'm saying I had Thanksgiving on my mind, so I guess I was thinking it was 24th, but it could have been the 22nd. But yeah, we was down at the UMN down at Solon Dock at that time, down around Kamau, where this happened, and yeah, it was a lot going on down there then. So I really thought more about it after I came home.
If you think about the different memories you have of Vietnam, and if you think of each one as kind of a weight, right? So just kind of a thought experiment. So this memory is like a 2 pound weight that I carry, and this memory is a 4 pound weight that I carry, and this memory is a 8 pound weight that I carry. What's the heaviest weight? What's the heaviest memory that you carry from Vietnam?
That little boy in my arms,
Yeah.
and they wanted me. I talked to a lot of doctors at the VA, and they all suggested I name him and and put a name to him. Me to be kind of my mentor. He was a door gunner on a Huey, and he had killed a little girl over there in a village as he went across the shooting. And he had problems with that. He was a big old guy from Tennessee. He kind of became my mentor, and he helped me get started through my therapy and everything.
Yeah.
And people talk about the VA, but the VA really helped me.